Hey guys, good morning. Every Monday I bring in great entrepreneurs for you, and today I've got Rushabh Vora, the co-founder of the SILA Group. How are you, Rushabh?
I'm good. How are you doing,
And
Vishal?
thanks for doing this at short notice. It's always best to be impromptu.
Yeah,
and
sure.
and a little bit about the SILA Group. If you're going and working at a corporate place, they would have probably managed the property, right? You would have probably built the interiors, correct?
Yeah.
So they are closing this year at 140 crores.
Yeah.
And believe me, he's got a story. He's also an ex-squash player, under 19
Right.
India.
Right.
I mean, how you moved in three stages in your life? A national squash player, you were a banker, then you became an entrepreneur. How did that happen?
So I mean, just to give you a background,
Yes,
my brother and I started this company. Brother's name is Sahil. We grew up playing a lot of squash. Played at the national level, etc. Moved to the US to a college called Trinity College. So got recruited to play squash there, and spent some time in finance in New York and Singapore. Both of us did that, and moved back here to start SILA. So I mean that's
a long story.
That's
cut
the
short.
long story
but,
cut short.
But you've been exposed to competition from a very young age.
Yeah.
You're a very competitive person. Does it come because of your schooling in America, or was it because of squash itself? And you said you went to an undefeated streak in your college for 4 years, right?
So I'll tell you something that we carry forward and we try and translate to work a lot, right? Is teamwork and working with different people and diversity. The college that we went to in the US, we were 13 players, squad of 23, 13 people, 13 of the 23 were internationals, all played a very high international level of squash before they walked into the US. So you basically have kings of your own every backyard coming together and trying to put egos aside and actually work together
and make it work.
So it really translates into the workplace as well. Diversity is it can hurt you, and you need to reap benefits of it. So I think we learned a lot from Trinity Squash. Our coach was a great mentor. We try and put the same family culture in at SILA that we had at college, and learned a lot from there.
I loved what you said, because if you have to manage so many different egos, and then you went to the banking world, you decided not to go pro. Was there any logic?
We wouldn't
to that?
make it as pros. So we have friends who we played with, Saurav, etc. Who played, and they all obviously have gone pro. I don't think both of us.
Under 19 India.
Yeah, but both of us were not as good to make it in the top 10, 12 on the pro tour, where the money is in squash and where you can actually sustain a lifestyle. So obviously that was not a decision we took.
But sports helps you in becoming an entrepreneur.
For sure.
Right? And in 2010 when you came back.
Yeah.
And you chose real estate as a segment that you have to go after.
Yeah.
Why commercial real estate? You want to tell us that?
So, more than me, Sahil is very fascinated by real estate, and he's really passionate about it. The first thing we wanted to do is build a business within the space. Facility management was for us an obvious first step, because the requirement for capital, it's not a capex intensive business, was low. Barriers to entry was low, and after we spent a few months researching it, we realized that a facility management business in India could be run better than some of the other
incumbents.
Yeah.
What were the incumbents doing at the time? And before that, quickly tell us, how did the startup happen at that time in 2010? I mean, you could have done many things. You're bankers.
Right.
You were into derivatives trading. He was in equity trading.
Yeah, he was at a hedge fund.
Right?
Yeah.
You could have done anything.
Yeah.
You came back into a segment where people like you, I mean, obviously educated, look at a modern India, always looking at positive use of tech, data.
Yeah.
But then coming into real estate at that point of time, it's always about contacts, connections, relationships, right?
Yeah.
It must be a very difficult move.
I'll tell you, first thing, I mean, we moved back when entrepreneurship wasn't sexy.
It wasn't,
right?
All, yes.
Raising money was not, today a lot of entrepreneurs, they think they've conquered a business if they raise money. Right? We didn't even know raising money existed like that. It was more ground up. We went to actually scrub toilets in malls, learned the business ground up. You tell me to operate any machine, to clean or go into DG rooms, etc., look at electrical. I figured out the basics for me to run a business, right? So, back then the way we built it out was first learn the business, learn the core fundamentals. You need to start making money early. You need to monitor cash flow very carefully. You need to grow in a sustained way. We didn't have projections of growing 100x and 1000x or GMV and all of that. We didn't even know that existed. So when we built it out, it was more steady, fundamental, do it right, do it well, get the customer to call you back and say, listen, you serviced me well here, now let's go and you service me in another location.
Okay, you start up.
Yeah.
And then you find the incumbents.
Yeah.
Large incumbents.
Yeah.
And global, some of them.
Yeah.
And what about the EBITDA margins that you realized you could do better than them?
No, so I don't think we do better margins. So the way our business works, right, is we have large companies, JLL, CBRE, Knight Frank, Cushman Wakefield, all these guys doing a lot of facility management work, right?
Right.
Typically when they take on a contract from a large corporate, it's given to them and they don't hire contractors on payroll. They don't hire the cleaner, they don't hire the electrician. It's very easy. So one way for us to build out the business was to go to them and say, listen, which we did go and explore that, was we'll become your sublet partner, where we'll be your feet on street really. And effectively that gross margin gets split between two parties, right? Between the big IPC and the contractor. We didn't think that's the way there's business strategies are different for everyone. We didn't think chasing revenue, chasing volume, low margin, poor working capital, terms made sense for us. We said, let's build this out prudently. Let it take a little more time. It has obviously taken more time. It'll probably be
Talk about your first customer. How was it?
First customer. So our angel, we raised money from an angel investor, friend's family. His name's Haresh Mehta. Very supportive. Gave us a check when we didn't have anything. So first customer was actually a building that he had developed. Was a society formed, 5 cleaners, 1 supervisor. People were not there on time. I think Sahil, there was one small. So actually that was the first cleaning customer. The first actual customer now is a company called Barucha and Partners, a law firm. Right, they're still our clients.
And it was a facility management.
It was a facility. So it started with security. So we started selling them security cameras.
Okay.
Then they said, why don't you take over security guarding? We picked up 2 guys from our building. The guy who was doing the night shift did the day over there, and the day guy did the night. And we were really hustling it. And then over time we took over the cleaning. So first thing is, we were ready to stand as guards if required, right, on day one. And
Rushabh, for those of you joining us, right, SILA Group is a facility management company. They have crossed 100 crores in revenue and doing extremely well. They will talk to you about cash management. Rushabh also tells you that in the early days, right, he was ready to do anything. You said you scrubbed toilets for a while, operated the machines yourself.
You got to learn the business.
And although you had a global experience, you worked in global organizations.
Yeah.
And when you started up, you did all this.
Yeah, we took a severe haircut on salaries, that I can tell you. See, if you want to do something, you got to be passionate about it. I think in the early 20s, when we started, the risk appetite was more.
Right.
You don't have a family, or you don't have, we didn't have reasons to. We had a fallback if at all. This, for me personally, if it failed, go back to Wall Street or go back to business school and then here and there. So it's key for us is learn the business before you can run the business.
Aren't you glad that you're a numbers guy? Because you made one mistake, a few mistakes.
Yeah,
the biggest mistake would be the B2C company that you started. Because
for sure.
You want to talk to us about that?
So look, we started SILA in 2010. It was facility management, growing steadily, 20-30%, more actually, 40%, so for a very low base, right? So good growth rates, cash coming in, EBITDA margins 8 to 10%, so a healthy business, right? However, we looked at that time at 2015, so we were in 5 years. I think we were doing about 40 odd crores by then.
And I like what you said, the Bangalore bug bit you.
Actually we moved to Bangalore with the startup, but that's because otherwise we didn't really have a Bangalore office or operation.
You moved here for a while?
No, I didn't. But we traveled quite a bit. But whatever, we drank that Kool-Aid in 2015 and said, look at a Flipkart or look at another tech company and look at the valuation, right? And we said, we got stuck. I think one really important thing is to know what you don't know,
Okay.
Right? It's more important to know what you don't know than to know what you know. And it took us those 4 months of mistakes to realize that we are not tech entrepreneurs. We're Gujarati businessmen who like to see fundamental businesses grow fundamentally. And we know, because even when we were working in wherever, in finance, or Sahil was tracking companies, we're tracking fundamental stocks and fundamental companies, right? So we knew that we built this business called Mr. Home Care. We rather raised a few crores for it. Very easy to raise in 2015 if you had some sort of track record. And within 3 months, we realized that, we're not tech entrepreneurs. We don't understand this game of burning. It's just not our DNA. And then it was quick. We had to make a switch immediately. You got to know when it's not working and cut it off.
And you cut it off in 3 months. And you raised money.
We cut it off in 6 months, but in 3 months, the strategy was to cut it off within the next 3 months, right? We realized we were going sideways in 3 months, and then obviously you raise money as investors. We gave everyone an option. So the other thing is goodwill matters more than money, right? And I think a lot of people don't realize that. We've seen that because we've had a colorful past growing up as well, and we know
things
that
go down,
things go down, and money comes and goes, but you want to keep your goodwill, you want to keep your word. Honesty has to be there.
Okay. Without naming anybody.
Yeah.
The current state of B2C businesses.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier,
yeah.
and we spoke that some things are not sustainable.
Yeah.
Does it frighten you that today the entrepreneur rate in the B2C business or any business today rates themselves saying, "Hey, I've raised so much money," and then everything is going to customer acquisition, then your cycle is always to raise more money, not to build a fundamental business?
See, honestly, I don't want to comment because I don't know enough about that game. I don't understand the raising, burning, GMV, I will go profitable game, right? That's one other reason I don't think an Indian tech startup not making money will ever be able to IPO, at least in the near future, because I think fundamentally an investor or someone looking from the outside, most people don't understand it, right? We don't understand it. So people are doing it successfully. There's obviously very smart people investing in these startups, and you have guys like Oyo, etc., raise that kind of money. Obviously, there has to be something to it. I'm not smart enough. I don't understand that piece of it.
Fair answer. That's answer. And your investors from that B2C company, you built a successful B2B company with SILA.
Yeah.
This B2C startup investors, you made sure that they weren't disappointed.
Yeah.
They came onto the B2B side. How did you manage that?
I'll tell you what. So it was a bit. That business was, it's still running. It's still there in a small avatar. It's still making money. It's still cash generating. The cost on spending has all gone down, but we've slowed it down because we realized that to build scale in that business was hard, because we could not come to a definitive answer what the actual market size is, right? We were reading reports, so market size and actual demand size was a problem. What we did was, so when we knew stuff was going sideways, we went to a few of our existing shareholders in SILA, and because we would take a little bit of a haircut over there, and we went to all our home care investors saying, listen, we've taken your money. Luckily we had a running business that was doing fairly well. We gave everyone an option to exit at a predetermined IRR between 16 and 18%, right? Saying you can take your cash and go and we'll pay you back. You will not lose money with us, or here's the swap ratio, swap into SILA, right? SILA shareholders at the time get diluted, but no one loses money. And I think I'd rather come off as a guy in 20 years than have made a few $1 million myself versus have made others. I'd rather have made others money along with me, right? I think that's very important.
I think you're being very humble there, because he's in fact employed 6,000 people on your roles, right?
Yeah, we now have 6,000 people.
And that's amazing, right? I mean, you're a company that handles real India. How do you see that? Everyone talks tech, and if you're in Bangalore, everybody thinks they're aligned to San Francisco. And that's a common mistake we often make. You just have to go outside of Bangalore to see the real India, right? How do you see India grow the next few years?
We have 1,000 employees in J&K. J&K Bank is a big customer of ours. We have employees all over the country, right? So fundamentally, our business is a people's business, right? Whether it's Bombay Airport, we have 300 people working for us there all the time.
You handle Bombay Airport.
Yeah, so Bombay Airport T2, a lot of that, about I would say a fourth of all contracted staff on facilities is ours. But you know, we're not tech entrepreneurs. We use tech to enable. Tech is very important. Don't get it wrong, right? We invest a lot of money in tech every year, but that tech is an enabler to ensure that we are more efficient at the back end. We monitor our OPEX to sales percentage very carefully. So every business has a revenue as a gross margin, which is your site level or your project level margin. And then there's an overhead, right? And then overhead comes down to EBITDA and then goes down interest, etc. But so to get to an EBITDA, we monitor OPEX percentage very closely. The only way to ensure that at scale, that OPEX percentage as a percentage of sales starts decreasing is to have standardized processes, technology, etc. I spoke to you about Indigo twice, right? Indigo for us is unbelievable. That's just the story that, I mean, that's just the way they operate, standardized. You look at the way they operate. That's what we try and aspire to be, right? In terms of from an operational angle, and you realize the amount of cost synergies and benefits you get once you standardize and have good tech.
That's exactly what I want to move to next. You moved from being a facility management company, which is great. You also started building interiors, and it brought in something of project management. By the way, there are interiors in the B2B space, again, not to be confused.
No B2C interiors. Very honestly,
we
tried a few, you know, similar. There's some tech companies that are doing interiors as well, but for us, look, again, it's dhanda. Do the business, make sure you're closing out your project on interiors in 3, 4, 5 months. Work with a corporate where you know there's one decision maker. You know, it's not a housewife saying, I want this, that. You know, these are real problems when you build a business, right? When you're working with a consumer, understand the consumer mindset is tough. Building a consumer business, in my opinion, we couldn't do it. We failed.
Absolutely. Because they say that pay me 1,000, they'll say no, I get it for 200 rupees.
Yeah, so it's time spent to money earned ratio. You've got to measure that. Put it crassly, magajmari to money earned ratio, right? That ratio is a very important ratio to keep in mind when you only have a finite number of hours to work. We used to work crazy hours. Now, frankly, I don't work 7 days a week or any of that. We get our time off and we manage our time well, but you got to pick that this is the time you have to work. You go after what you should be.
Talk about your interiors business. You have some big clients. You want to name
So you know, we started and how we started the interiors, right? So we started facility management. Then we said, listen, we figured out how to manage buildings efficiently. Now let's go to the side of building. So we co-invested, formed a JV with a US-based project management company in India that was building a few hotels, etc. over here. We've done a lot of project management work, but that's only when you have 5, 6 engineers, 8 engineers on a project and coordinate the entire construction and handover. What we realized at that point, there's a dearth of good contractors to do interior fit outs, right? On the finishes, there's a lot of good civil shell core contractors, but again, high magajmari interiors, you have thousands of BOQ or line items to put into an interior. To put a building, there's maybe 10, 15 items to buy, right? So this is more magajmari, but we said let's build it. We've got capability on handling people through facilities. We've built that IR kind of capability. So let's build this out. So we started building our interiors over the last year and a half. We've done well. We've serviced a lot of chains. We've serviced so SILA is a client, Trafigura and Polycab are clients.
Some
QSR, Pepperfry is a big client. We've done work with a few banks, Copper Chimney, Irish House. Typically we look for business. That's also a very important thing is annuity type of business, right? And that's what corporates give you. That once you finish one, I know now if SILA has finished one, we've delivered Bangalore recently. Now they will sign, say, one more location, another location. I'm the preferred guy to go to, and now I just keep going. So the business development pipeline is managed well.
Do startups have control over the real estate? I know once they raise more than 10 million, they sort of go after their own offices. Can they work with people like you to understand the kind of interiors that they want? Or
yeah, for sure. Interiors. So we do design, build, turnkey contracting, right? So if you have and we start small, we open to doing even something 1,500, 2,000 square foot up, right? So we've done stuff. We
so
operate.
Startups
We operate in that 1500 to 20,000 square foot or 25,000 square foot bracket right now. And again, we could go and win contracts bigger, but we're doing only 40 crores in this business.
Okay.
Right? When we start doing 100, 150 is
So
when we start going
business,
after.
yes.
Because again, you don't want to bite more than you can chew, right? One classic example with SILA in 2010, in our 6th month of business, we went and sold a facilities management contract to Financial Technologies. FT at that time, they were very, very big, right? And in 3 months, I was kicked out of there. Right? It is, I think, one of the only contracts that I've been asked to leave.
Why is that?
Because I did not have the back end, the operations, the bandwidth to operate an asset of that size. Can I sell? I can sell. Can I probably go and sell at a larger client? I can. But so you got to be very careful and build it slowly.
Okay.
Don't bite more than you can chew. I think that is we've learned that the hard way.
What was it like to get 100 crores? Proper cash, not GMV.
We only proper cash, revenue only. So we crossed it this year early.
How was it like?
Last year we did about 65.
Was it great? 70. Coming from obviously you've gone through the motions yourself. You have to credit your dad. You learned a lot when you were young.
Yeah, we learned from our family. My mother has actually been a very important part of us growing up. So she's really been my child's backbone. My dad's done a lot as well.
What was it like in getting to 100 crores? Do you?
Is it what 100 crores?
What do you? It's a number, obviously.
100 crores.
Does it change your life?
100 crores is a number. It's just a number we've hit recently, and there's nothing special about it. It's just one number. We've got to go ahead, right? So. It's not that we've celebrated, had a thing in the office or anything, nothing. It was just simple, get to work. Let's now look at 500 is our next
goal
milestone. But again, we do not look at 500 or 100. We look at a number which is EBITDA.
EBITDA is
right?
important for you.
For us, profitability is more important than chasing revenue. We obviously have plans, goals over the next 4 or 5 years, what to do. But we think we're driven by profit and not by pure revenue.
So you've done 150 projects so far?
Yeah, so I gave you that number. That 150 is, I think, the amount of, we've actually servicing over 1,300 locations all over the country.
Nice.
The clients that we would have serviced would be in the 130 to 160 range. But I think live contracts would be around 140, 150 today.
How do you rate Indian real estate going forward? RERA's coming from the residential side. Do you see something on the commercial side? And what's
so look, my brother's a lot more on the our project management advisory piece he looks at, but we had a few things in Indian real estate or major events that affected it, right? Starting with demonetization, then RERA, then IBC played a big role because now developers, any businessman is scared of doing what a lot of developers have done. You've seen the action that has been taken in the north as well with some of the larger developers. GST, big game changer and that's actually
it's good for you, isn't it?
Actually a reason why we got into the contracting business.
Do you like it? Do you talk about GST? How does it help
So I'll tell you specifically for us in contracting, right? And that's why we had stayed away from it. Earlier there was a lot of complexities with VAT and service tax, and you raise the composite bill, right, to a customer. Some customer says, boss, I get a set off on service tax, not on VAT, so I want 70% and 30%, and I want, so different states have different VAT numbers, and GST has actually made this playing field a lot more level. I think it's honestly opened up the business for more organized players. There are more compliances, there are more filings required, all of that stuff. But now all of us are on a level playing field. Now if let's say I am manufacturing and selling plastics, and I'm a consumer business, right, and I'm earning VAT on it. Right, I want a lower service tax bill because I'm probably not getting a set off with GST. Now the set off problem's over, right? A lot of that is over. So it's helped us. It's put everything in line. It's a lot easier.
Aren't you happy with it because there's no more? Because it allows you to compete on a level playing field with some biggies
and with the unorganized guys.
Yes, and there's no more grandfathering of bills.
Yeah, right? There's definitely no more innovative handling of bills or of the tax structure. It's pretty simple.
So that's good then. I mean, what else has helped you in the last 2 years?
See, I'll tell you, in terms of policy, there's a policy called PMRPY, Pradhan Mantri Yojana scheme for PF, right? And I think that's been a game changer in terms of it's a
for the blue collar workers.
For the blue collar workers to promote employment, right? It's basically pushing contractors. So the contractor is supposed to gets the benefit, not the principal employer.
Right.
As per the scheme, so it's pushing us to contract, employ more, provide more employment. We get the government subsidizes a part of the PF for us. Again, positively affects our margins.
It's great, right? Now you're adding quality of life into people that work for you.
Yeah,
and that's very essential going forward for you also, I guess, because you'll probably want to increase your revenues. And these blue collar workers, you want to talk about them a bit?
So we call them frontliners.
Okay.
Nice. We're trying to stay away from the word blue collar as much as we can. We do all we can to promote and grow. It's hard. Everyone will say I have these programs. But we have a few training programs. We do put a blanket kind of freeze on hiring supervisors every now and then, just because we want to get the janitor to now move to a supervisor. So we have our tech. So again, tech's an enabler for us. We built a performance management system for every blue collar frontline worker. So we actually have a way of rating, which I don't think a lot of people in our business do. Honestly, I don't think anyone does it, but we actually have a way to rate everyone's performance. Let's say AdLabs Magica, it's a theme park outside of Bombay, right? We've got 280 employees there. We have a rating on who our top 5 performing janitors are, top few performing electricians or whoever we have on that site are, and the bottom performing. But when we need to now, when a supervisor leaves or an executive leaves who they're reporting into, we have that pool of 5-6 people to promote from. So we're trying to do stuff like that. We have some sort of learning development programs. There's this other program that it's not coming to mind,
come back
whatever, but there's another government run program that we've actually been involved with and made use of as well.
It's great. If I would suggest that all of you in your story so used to talking to tech entrepreneurs, check out SILA Group. What's your website, Rushabh?
It's silagroup.co.in.
That's SILA Group
group.co.in.
So check them out if you're a startup, expanding your business. Might as well talk to them for the interiors on the B2B side of things.
For sure. And if you've grown your business enough on the facility side, we'd love to service you. And if anyone, we help and mentor a few kids. If anyone likes to reach out.
You mentor, don't you? That's
a few. Nice. A few friends, sister,
tech entrepreneurs.
No, we don't understand tech. So you want to know how to raise money and go the tech
business
way. I have a lot of friends who we can connect you to, but more from a business building perspective, core dhanda, we can try and help you out.
Lovely. But do you read? Do you have time?
Very honestly, I'm not a big reader like most of your viewers. I would watch video. I watch video content a lot. But yeah, I've read a few books obviously.
What's your favorite?
So Richard Branson is a someone that we admire. I've read a lot of his books. There's one book called The Power of Broke by Damon John.
Okay. What about it?
Damon John is the Shark Tank investor, the FUBU guy, right? So basically the story is, long story short, is when you're broke is when you become more efficient.
Yes.
Right? So when you're running a business and cash flows are tight, is when efficiency, you find a way to become more and more efficient. And that is something that even we've not done a great job of. When we have money in the bank, our bank limits get raised or whatever it is, right? We have no debt. It's really working capital lines are to a few crores, not much. But when you have that room, you can start spending on stuff that you typically wouldn't spend on when your cash flows are tight. I think it applies to personal life as well. But so efficiency comes out when you're tight. That's just the long story short. It's called The Power of Broke. That's something that we've kept.
Tell me 3 things that you think you've done right in the last 8 years or 9 years.
I can tell you more things that are done wrong.
Okay, tell us that at least.
Okay. One is trying to build a tech business.
Don't build a tech business.
For the
B2C side.
Number 1, do not bite on more than you can chew. That is number two. Yeah, I think don't run too fast. I think these are my 2-3 biggest mistakes. There are tons of mistakes. You only learn from your mistakes. Hiring, right? Don't, when you have money in the bank and you've had a good year, do not go and hire
an expensive person.
No, hire expensive people. You need to hire 6 months before you need the person.
So set the metrics,
right? Yeah, but just be disciplined, right? About cash flow management. We've not been sometimes. For the most part, we've been. I think we're more prudent than most. I mean, a lot of the startups that I've seen and been exposed to, and how badly we manage our cash flows in those 2 years of 1 year of home care. But so I think those are what not to do. What to do is important things for us, right? HR people make businesses, right? You got to get hiring right. It's the hardest thing to do, but very important. Very important to build processes that are scalable. Make yourself as dispensable as you can, because that's the only way you can grow. This has to happen at every level. And for businesses like ours, figure out tech. I still get it wrong. I still don't know if I've got it right. We use it as an enabler. We have a lot of tech that we built. Read up, try and learn as much about it as you can, because stuff doesn't stay the same. Businesses will keep changing. You got to just move on with the time.
This has been a brilliant conversation, because not often do I meet B2B offline businesses, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for meeting us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And maybe next time Sahil can join us.
Yeah, I'll ask him to come.
And we can find another topic.
He'll give you more on the real estate angle. So he looks more at the real estate piece. More on the projects, development, or whatever our plans are going forward. I'm looking to build business services. My customers, the HAP, HR, admin, procurement at a hotel or at a corporate
So there you
office.
go, guys. If you've stayed in a hotel or worked somewhere, it might have been executed by SILA Group.
Or managed.
And Rushabh's very humble there. And thank you again.
No, thanks a lot.
Absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. And Sahil, we miss you. We see you soon.
Yeah,
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you.